Imagine going into a World Cup knowing your entire tournament could hinge not on the game in front of you, but on a match happening simultaneously in a different city, between teams you have never faced, playing for stakes you can only estimate in real time. Imagine a format where a yellow card in the 89th minute, not a goal, not a result, sends you home, where you can finish third in your group with 3 draws and still win the entire tournament, where a side doing mental arithmetic about goal difference margins against teams they have never met is not a scandal. It is the intended design. This is not theoretical. This is the structure FIFA spent 8 years building, defending, partially dismantling, and rebuilding in time for the most watched sporting event on Earth. This is the 2026 FIFA World Cup format, and today we are going to tell you exactly why it remains, in spite of everything, football's most broken design. Welcome to Ryan Kelsey Official Football Report. Let's get started. FIFA voted to expand the World Cup from 32 to 48 teams in January 2017. The vote was unanimous, and the format attached to that vote was a structural disaster hiding in plain sight. Gianni Infantino, elected FIFA president less than a year earlier, announced the expanded tournament would open with 16 groups of 3 teams. Each nation would play just 2 group games. Top 2 from each group advance, the rest go home. That sentence deserves to sit for a moment. 2 group games at a World Cup. Since 1998, every nation at every World Cup has played a minimum of 3 group matches. Removing that guaranteed third game was not a minor formatting decision. It was a choice that would immediately invite the darkest moment in World Cup history to repeat itself. Because FIFA had already seen exactly what happens when 2 teams know what result they need before the final group game begins. They just chose to forget it. On the 25th of June 1982, at the Estadio El Molinón in Gijón, Spain, West Germany and Austria played a game that football has not forgiven in 4 decades. Algeria had already completed their final group match. They had beaten Chile 3-2. They sat in a position where they would advance if West Germany won by 3 or more goals, or if Austria won or drew. But the scheduling had given both European sides their final game a day after Algeria finished. They knew the number, they knew the scoreline, and after Horst Hrubesch headed West Germany into the lead in the 10th minute, they acted on it. For the remaining 80 minutes, both sides effectively stopped playing. No ambition to attack, no meaningful attempt to score again. A German win by 1 goal put both European sides through and sent Algeria home. The crowd in Gijón chanted, "Fuera, fuera, out, out." Algerian fans waved banknotes in disgust. Even West German television described the spectacle as disgraceful. In Austria, it became known as the Nicht-Angriffspakt, the non-aggression pact of Gijón. It was not a coincidence of results, it was a calculation. FIFA's response was to mandate that all final group games must kick off simultaneously from 1986 onwards. A rule built entirely to prevent 2 teams from ever knowing what result they needed before kickoff. FIFA introduced that rule. And then, 31 years later, they designed a format where in every group of 3, a final game must be played last, where both teams always know exactly what result sends them through, where the structural conditions for Gijón are not an accident, but an architectural feature. That is not an oversight. That is a design failure. For 5 years after 2017, the research piled up. A 2020 academic paper by Julien Guyon quantified what should have been obvious. In a 16 group of 3 format, the probability of collusion occurring in at least one group was, by his calculations, unacceptably high. The work was cited in the New York Times and Le Monde. His conclusion: the risk of collusion in at least one group becomes unacceptably high. The problem cannot be mitigated by forbidding draws during the group stage. FIFA's own Vice President Victor Montagliani admitted publicly in 2022 that the collusion risk was an issue that has been raised. Arsène Wenger, then FIFA's head of global football development, confirmed the format was not finalized. La Liga called FIFA's approach complete disregard for the football community. FIFPRO, the Global Players Union, and the World League's Forum condemned the plan. Researchers, coaches, journalists, and the people running the game at club level were aligned on one point. The proposed format was broken before a ball was kicked. In March 2023, 6 years after the original vote, FIFA's council met in Kigali, Rwanda, and unanimously approved a new format. 12 groups of 4 teams. Top 2 from each group advance automatically, plus the 8 best third-place teams. A round of 32 replacing the previous round of 16. FIFA described it as a thorough review. The football community called it what it was: a reversal forced by external pressure. But the reversal came with its own structural problems, and those problems did not arrive quietly. The 2026 format now uses 12 groups of 4, The collusion risk from the final group game is addressed. Simultaneous fixtures on match day 3 are preserved. On paper, the worst problem is fixed. What FIFA has not publicly discussed is what the 8 best third-place teams rule actually does to the football. 12 teams will finish third in their groups. 8 advance to the round of 32. 4 go home. The ranking crosses every group in the tournament. Points first, then goal difference, then goals scored, then fair play record, then FIFA World Ranking as a last resort. Read that again. The ranking crosses every group. A team playing its final group game in third place, on 3 points, is not competing only against the teams in their own group. They are competing against the third-place team in every other group across the entire tournament. A goal conceded in the 88th minute in a different city, in a parallel match they cannot influence, can shift their elimination threshold in real time. They are not just competing against the team in front of them, they are competing against a live mathematical model of 11 other simultaneous group games, updating by the minute. FIFA has had to publish a full lookup table, Annex C of their competition regulations, to explain which round of 32 slot each qualifying third-place team will fill. According to WC2026.app, there are 495 possible combinations, of which 8 groups produce the qualifying third-place teams. 495 versions of the bracket. Fans will need a calculator to understand the knockout draw. Players and managers will need a live data feed to understand their own elimination status. That is not drama. That is chaos designed to look like competition. The third-place system also produces a specific distortion in how the games are played. In the old 32-team format, a team that lost its first group game still had 2 matches to fight through. The incentive was constant and clear. Win matches, win the group. No complicated calculations, no cross-group mathematics, just results. The 2026 system creates something different. A team sitting third with 2 points after 2 games needs not just to avoid defeat in their final group match, they need to win it. And to win it by as many goals as possible, because goal difference is the primary tiebreaker between third-place teams on equal points across the entire tournament. Tactical analysts at Breaking the Lines summarized it in their 2026 preview. The expanded format creates a brutal trap, with an incentive structure that rewards conservative football in matches 1 and 2 and unleashed football in match 3. Conservative, then chaotic. The wrong way around for any tournament designed around sporting quality. Managers have a rational reason to protect results early and risk everything in the final game. Not because of the opponent in front of them, but because of what 11 parallel groups are doing simultaneously. The format did not eliminate perverse incentives, it relocated them. The structural problems in the qualification mechanics exist alongside an entirely separate problem, the one that the Players' Union went to court over. The 2026 World Cup will play 104 matches over 38 to 39 days. The 2022 World Cup in Qatar played 64 matches over 29 days. That is 40 additional games, a 62.5% increase in match volume from one edition to the next. Teams that reach the final will now play 8 games to lift the trophy. Every World Cup between 1974 and 2022 required a maximum of 7. That extra game is not abstract. It is 90 minutes of football added to the end of a tournament that already runs players into exhaustion after a club season of 50 to 70 appearances, after the newly expanded 32-team Club World Cup that FIFA inserted into the calendar the summer before. FIFPRO's survey of players at the 2022 World Cup found that 43% experienced what they described as extreme or increased mental fatigue. Their public response to FIFA's expansion plans was not a statement of concern. It was a legal filing. FIFPRO Europe, alongside the English PFA and the French UNFP, took the matter to the European courts. FIFPRO described the core issue as FIFA's unilateral decisions on competition formats, driving an international match calendar that violated fundamental workers' rights. The French government tried to have the case dismissed. The committee rejected that attempt. La Liga's response to the 104-game announcement was a single sentence: FIFA is showing complete disregard for the importance of national championships and the football community in general. The World Leagues Forum accused FIFA of acting unilaterally without consulting, let alone agreeing, with those who are directly affected. Leagues, players, unions and clubs, everyone who runs domestic football, said the same thing. FIFA expanded anyway. FIFA projects $8.9 billion in revenue from the 2026 World Cup, contributing the majority of its $13 billion target for the 2023 to 2026 four-year cycle. When FIFA changed from 16 groups of 3 to 12 groups of 4 in 2023, the total match count rose from 80 to 104. That is 24 additional games. 24 additional games staged across 16 host cities, each generating ticket revenue, broadcast fees, and commercial inventory. The switch to 4-team groups added approximately 1.5 million more tickets to sell. Face value ticket prices for the final reached $32,970 on FIFA's official sales platform. In April 2026, 4 tickets for the final were listed on FIFA's resale marketplace at just under $2.3 million each, a platform where FIFA takes a 30% commission on every sale. The format change in 2023 was driven partly by sporting integrity concerns and partly by the recognition that 24 additional games represented $11 billion in revenue logic that did not exist in the original 80-game proposal. Those things are not mutually exclusive, but understanding which force was leading and which was following is essential to understanding why the design remains what it is. Commercial expansion did not produce the broken design, but it did ensure that the broken design was never going to be abandoned without a fight, and that the fix would be one that maximized games rather than minimized complexity. The tournament runs from the 11th June to the 19th July. That final date is load-bearing. It is a World Cup final being played in North America across 3 co-host countries in the second half of July. Researchers at Loughborough University, the University of Bristol, and the University of Manchester published a report ahead of the tournament, warning it could become the most polluting World Cup in history, citing the vast travel distances across 16 host cities spanning the entire continent. That logistical reality sits on top of the match volume problem. Medical experts identified that 10 of the 16 tournament venues face very high risk of extreme heat stress. FIFA's response was to mandate 3-minute hydration breaks in each half of every match, a solution the World Cup has never needed before. Dominic Ray, a senior physiotherapist at Al Nasser FC in the UAE, where summer temperatures regularly exceed 40 degrees Celsius, told CNN ahead of the tournament, when physiological stress goes up, things like decision-making, cognitive clarity, and the ability to produce high physical outputs get impacted. 8 games, 6 weeks, 3 countries, mandatory water breaks. These are not precautions being taken because of an unusual coincidence of conditions. They are precautions being taken because the format requires them. The tournament was scheduled to run through these conditions by design, not in spite of them. None of this means the 2026 World Cup will not produce brilliant football. It will. Football is resilient enough to overcome the structures imposed on it. It has done so many times before, but the structure matters. A tournament format is not just administrative. It is the framework inside which the game's greatest competition is decided. Every perverse incentive in the third-place rankings, every yellow card with cross-group qualification consequences, every compressed recovery window in July heat, every player arriving at a knockout round carrying the load of a Club World Cup, a full club season, and 3 group games. All of it flows from structural decisions made for reasons that were never purely about football. FIFA started with a broken proposal in 2017. It was forced to change in 2023. The version it landed on solved the most visible collusion problem and introduced new design flaws in its place. The game has never been played at this volume, across this geography, by players carrying this workload at these financial stakes. And the format governing all of it was not designed with the game at its center. That is not an accusation, it is a structural truth. And in the summer of 2026, the players will live inside it, one group game at a time. This is football's most broken design, and this is exactly the kind of story Mega Football is built to tell. Subscribe and hit the bell. We'll see you next week.